The St. John's International Women's Film Festival is based in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. We respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has been lost forever and can never be recovered. We also acknowledge the island of Uktamguk, Newfoundland, as the unceded, traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq. We acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Nitassinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatuavut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First People have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all.
Welcome to the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. We are so stoked to be showing your amazing film that you've obviously both worked so hard on. I'm going to just say, Maris, good job. Maris Curran, the filmmaker. And Jeannette, what a gift it is to see a film focusing on your incredible journey as a single mom, an out and proud queer person, a woman of color, Latinx, and here you are showing us how it's done in regards to healing and community and bringing everyone with you. So thank you to you both. What's been the most rewarding part of such a vulnerable and powerful film?
I mean, I think that I'll say 2 things, one about the journey and then maybe one about this kind of new journey that we're on. So much of the film is about Jeannette and my relationship and about the beginning. There was a seed of that relationship and it's been 5 years. So it's really kind of blossomed and that we have really taken the time and gone on an incredible journey together. And I think that the film is really a testament to that, to Jeanette's incredible trust that she put into me and to our crew, to also the incredible trust that her kind of village gave also to me and the crew. And to me, that's the biggest gift. And then I think that there's a second part of that, which is then the kind of gift that we hand in hand give out to the world of the film. And the fact that I think both of our hopes is that this film sparks conversations and that it helps people begin to talk about things that can be really difficult to talk about, which is about our experiences with trauma. And I think that it's important to start having those conversations to lead to a journey of healing. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, I love that starting place. Before I kind of validate all that stuff, did you want to add anything, Jeannette?
I mean, well, for me, I I never thought that this would reach, the magnitude that it has thus far. I'm taken back. I am beyond honored to just be in the presence of those who actually watch it. This documentary is as raw and as real as it can get, and the relationship that I have developed with Maris through this process has been, phenomenal. When she first started filming, I really never knew what direction we were going in this. She just literally followed me and did it in such a professional way and did it in a way that brought a lot of ease, especially coming off of something so tragic as the Pulse nightclub massacre. So there was a lot for me in regards to trusting a white woman to want to know about what happened to, my community, though she's very understanding to the community. She's a part of the community. But, for me, it was, who do I trust? What information do people want? So there was a lot of issues that I was going through mentally. But Maris was very skillful in making sure that she made me feel comfortable and made me realize that regardless of color and background and how we were raised, that, we both, bleed red, and we've been through the very, very similar life courses. We're just of different colors. And that is what allowed me to be myself, because really within Maris, I was able to see myself.
That is gorgeous. Thank you so much. I really am so happy you're both bringing this up as the focus to begin this conversation. Because yes, I wanted to know what that process was to develop that rapport and trust with such like a big T trauma situation, you know, and acknowledging the different ways that we experience oppression, you know, based on the color of our skin, based on how much money we have, based on, you know, all of the things, being queer, or you know what I mean, being trans, all the reasons, all the ways in which the collective experience trauma under systems of oppression, you know, systems that actively take us away from care, some of us more than others. So that acknowledgement, right, of this is the violence that people are experiencing, you know, let's name that, let's name where we are positioned in those systems of oppression, and come together and really work to focus on the resilience, right? Like the softness, the reclaiming of the body, right? And the way the film showed that, man. And I was wondering, what, like, were you having those conversations when building rapport with each other? Like, what was it that enabled you, Jeannette, and your whole crew, right? Your beautiful son was there, your mom was there, you know, your friends who were survivors of the Pulse Club massacre with you. And everyone was showing up in such a beautiful and vulnerable way. And I was like, there must have been some really healing and big conversations that's happening between the filmmaker here and the subject, Jeannette. So yeah, if you feel like it's appropriate to share some of that, I'm just here for it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You know, like I mentioned, at first it was, I was a little taken back. Me and Maris, I was working, well, she was working on a anti-discriminate hate
Mm-hmm.
Commercial that I was actually a part of here in Orlando. So when me and her met, yeah, there was a sense of trying to building that rapport, because one thing is I never wanted to make a film based, you know, on Pulse, or, you know, due to, you know, respect for myself, to the survivors and those who are no longer with us. So that was definitely a topic that I was not going to relive, because it's something that I relive till this very day. You know, people will always want questions, because, you know, when things like that happen, news media just wants to know everything that occurred that day. And what happens is it brings so much stress and trauma and anxiety and all things that are negative about that particular day, and so many feelings of, oh, and you know, the wife wasn't guilty and this and that, and it brings this sense of anger, but there's no sense of healing. So what happens is that when we all experience trauma, news media outlets want to know about that particular day, all the events, but after that, everybody else is forgotten. You know, Maris took the approach of, you're not forgotten, and what is the healing, and she didn't know what I was going to experience out of these years of her filming. But what happens is that her sense of ease, she was very, very smart on also bringing people, you know, her camera crew to be of Latin descent, Black descent. You know, she brought different cultures and to make me feel comfortable, her understanding that though we're similar, but I want Jeannette to feel kind of at ease. And I actually built relationships with all those who were literally a part of her crew. And the fact that, you know, there was the way that she shot the film is absolutely, you know, amazing, because even when I had seen it with her, I was like, wow, we had these conversations. And it was because she was very smart that, you know, she wouldn't have the camera on me, and me and her would just sit down and talk. And when we would sit down and talk, it was a conversation that was back and forth, and allowed me to get to know who Maris is as a woman. you know, and that made things so much more comfortable. If it was a man shooting this, asking me questions, I don't know if I would even have been comfortable enough to even move forward. So, you know, there was a lot of things that Maris took into consideration. Me as a leader in the community, you know, people followed suit because I said, hey, listen, this is what they're going to do. They're going to shoot. And, you know, one thing is, I've been able to influence the community in such a positive way, even prior, you know, to post. So it was something that was easy for them. And Maris always took into account whoever ever was a part of the film. And that's crucial. So, you know, she literally became a part of the family. She became a part of the Orlando community. It wasn't like, oh yeah, there's this white woman coming over here to just film us. I don't know what she want to do. It was never like that. So, you know, she's actually built relationships with a bunch of people who are actually in this film.
So it was the intent.
Absolutely.
Like, clearly intent, Maris, was to come in and continue the healing, like, for everyone involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that building off of what Jeannette said is that there's this sense of when something tragic happens that we focus with a microscope in that moment and then move on, right? We move on to the next tragedy. And so then the majority of us are left in that aftermath, right? Without the proper resources, without kind of having a real understanding of what to do, right? And we live in a culture that's perpetuating this type of heightened tragedy, and then we drop people. And so the idea was, well, what if instead of doing that, we actually don't hold a microscope up, but we make space for the aftermath, and we're real about the aftermath, and that we say we don't know what it looks like. You know, it wasn't only Jeannette that didn't completely know what this film was going to be, because we had to kind of jump off that cliff together, right? And say, we're going where the truth leads us. We're going where Jeannette's life leads us, right? There were so many surprises because of that. And I think that I went in kind of I'm a survivor of violence, physical and sexual violence. And this is something that Jeannette and I have connected on. But I think that there are ways that going into a space when dealing with trauma that you automatically are going to be re-traumatizing people. And so I think that it's really important to say, well, what's the opposite of that, right? How can you go in with a camera so that you can create art and films where people will be able to talk about this and see people's experiences without re-traumatizing people, without re-traumatizing Jeannette, without re-traumatizing Easy, without re-traumatizing her son, right? And saying, and also I said to Jeannette going in, if there's ever a moment that we stop, right? It's not that like, oh, we need this, we stop. And that was one of the big reasons that there are no on-screen interviews in the film. I didn't want to kind of have lights facing at Jeannette with a camera and say, you know, perform your trauma. That seemed totally wrong and also not the cinematic language of the film. And so what we did was, on these days when we weren't shooting, Jeannette and I, you know, we sat down and, you know, one day Jeannette would cook for me and the next day I would cook for her. And, you know, it was just the two of us, and we talked exactly as she said. It was a back and forth, and there wasn't time pressure. It was like, we're spending the day, we're spending these hours. The conversation is going to talk about, you know, things that Jeannette has experienced, parallel things that I have experienced, parts that of course I haven't experienced, and kind of navigate that territory. And then of course, in addition to having what I think felt to both of us extremely meaningful conversations, it made it so the next time we shot, we were that much closer, right? Because we had these moments together.
That's incredibly gorgeous. And, you know, to build a relationship with someone who you are filming, what an amazing, would radical be the right word? It feels very like some radical love, like, despite how the industry may usually do it, or someone behind a camera would usually do it. And especially what you named, like, to directly counter the, like, oh, we're going to film this person focus on the traumatic event, and that person is not surrounded by care. And so it sounds like you both really intentionally surrounded your relationship with each other with care and intentionality. And obviously, Jeannette, what I saw you do is surround yourself with that love and care that you so deserved when you were a teenager, that you named in the film, being that strong person, that strong queer woman that you needed, being that for yourself. And here you are as a community, right? As a team here, at least between Maris and Jeannette together, right? Putting like a literal camera on the joy and the resilience, and also the grief and the vulnerability that comes from that trauma that you experienced. And here you are, Jeannette, focusing on well, your body, releasing trauma from your body. That's so beautiful. And facilitating a community space where you're helping other people release trauma from their bodies in your gym. Your kid, he's witnessing you experiencing joy, and I don't want to put feelings in your, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just seeing the film really highlight the beautiful complexities of moving forward intentionally as a community, making sure no one's left behind. No one's left behind. I'm here for it. And I love that, you know, you were both so intentional with your relationship with each other to allow that to happen, because there's so many reasons why that process can be squashed if the intent is not care, for example.
Well, and I think that also a beautiful thing in this kind of journey that we've taken that I think you can see in the film, and I think that Jeannette also articulated after seeing it, is that Jeannette is so strong and is so much for so many people, that also there's a certain part in the process and a certain part in the film where it's like, oh, you can also lean back a little, right? Because look at this incredible community around you. And I think that there's kind of that realization of like, oh, more people have my back than I might realize. And I think that it was incredibly beautiful to experience that with Jeannette. And I think Jeannette was mentioning, like, I got that by proximity, right? I have had her community also kind of buoy me up and buoy the film up and kind of support us in tandem together. And I think that it's an incredible testament to Jeannette, to the work she's done, the work she's doing, and also to this very special community that has gone through a lot, but that also is just, they're there for each other.
I was seeing that, and I did want to ask, you know, Jeannette, like how you felt like expressing in the film. I remember it was after your amazing competitive bodybuilding competition, you crashed. The film showed you kind of like just be really tired, and you were sitting with your friend who was also a survivor of Pulse. What was his name again?
Easy.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he was saying to you, you know, we haven't had a chance to stop and receive care, you know, and you were having this beautiful conversation, and I was wondering, like, since making the film, and exactly what Maris was just saying, taking stock of all the other people who are doing the work to be the role models that everyone deserves, especially survivors of Pulse, especially people who experience homophobia, you know what I mean? People who experience racism. Like, who are the folks leading in those communities? And I was wondering if you feel more held by that healing is never done alone. It's only done in community. So I was wondering if you felt a relief that you don't have to be the leader of power. Who's joining you? And I want to hear about it, because I'm just excited for you to get that kind of power and love from other people too. And I bet you have. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so for me, as a personal trainer, right, I'm always in a position of leadership. When I train people, it's their sense of therapy. It's a
Mm.
physical therapy.
Mm.
You can see that through the film, is that I am a person that gets everything out through my training. Whereas E was someone, that I needed in my life because I didn't express myself so much in regards to my internal feelings. And he drew that out of me, which was so important to the healing process, right? I'm out there always constantly being the strong one to help heal others. But what happens is that, people always see the strong Jeannette. They don't see the vulnerable Jeannette. And in this film, you definitely see the vulnerable Jeannette, right? And having E there, that was so important to the healing process so that I myself can go ahead and express myself other than the training itself. The community came together because this community was hit by it. By one way or another, you were impacted by it. So here's the thing is that, I feel as though, and then obviously being a part of the community, and my sense of healing was taking two words. A lot of times within our community is we fight and look so much to try to be accepted. I want to be accepted. Accept me for who I am. Accept me. But what happens is we're looking for the wrong word. We've been looking for the wrong word for a very long time. Because realistically is I don't need to be accepted by anyone, but rather I want to be respected. Okay. So for me, the respect is the most important. My son is 19 years old now. If he was to hang out with his friends and do crazy stuff, I will not accept his lifestyle, but I will love my son. And when he's in my presence and he's doing things, I will respect him as a young man. And I think that the healing for all of us, being a part of the community is that when we take the word acceptance and we take that out, we're going to view things a way different. My mom within the film, you see how I commend my mom for her spiritual strength beyond measures. And the reason why is that she may not accept the lifestyle of homosexuality. Just like if I was with a man, if I was heterosexual, my mom would not accept the fact of me having sex with someone prior to being married, you see? But she respects who I am. And that was something that was even more important for me to see because of the relationship that I've had with my mother. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional, but I needed to see that on screen. I needed to see that because I needed to see and realize that my mom truly does love me. She truly does. And I'm not looking for acceptance anymore from anyone. I just want to be respected as a leader. I want to be respected as a human being. I want to be respected as a woman. And I will continue to do whatever when it comes to healing. But to know that through this process I do have a lot of people to fall back on. And it's when we speak to others is when we realize that those behind us are also there for us as well.
Well, thank you, Jeannette. Yes, right? Because it must have been maybe at first feeling like a risk to be so vulnerable on camera, to show the different, a different way than you usually are seen, like you say. And sometimes it doesn't feel safe for people with trauma to be vulnerable, right? But you had all these people around you creating space, your friend E and Maris, clearly your relationship, and your mom and your son. I was seeing that. I was like, people in Jeannette's community and family and life right now are holding space for your vulnerability. I was seeing, oh, you had a hard time and you were at the table and your mom came up behind you and hugged you and you let her comfort you in this vulnerable way. And I'm just like so thrilled to hear that watching your interactions with your mom is healing and that you know for sure that you are loved. I love this.
I like how you brought that point out. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times is we do look for our parents' love and acceptance, right? Us, right? And that moment when I also tell mom that I want to be what I never in my life had. And if you notice, my mom didn't have a rebuttal because it was true. But I don't hold resentment for that because I do allow her to comfort. And a lot of times is because we're looking for such acceptance is we hold the same animosity towards our parents because we think they're holding that to us. And we forget and we take away that parents will love you, but they don't have to accept certain things. But when they're there for you, that is what counts. And that was so like, and I appreciate Maris for even showing that. Because let me tell you something, I didn't want to see the film. When she told me that she finished it, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see my ex-girlfriend. I didn't want to see an argument with my mom because I was raised a certain way. I do not talk back to my mother. So even within that heated, I was not raised in that way. So, and not only that, regardless of my mom's religious beliefs, regardless of how my mom feels, is I never want anyone to look at my mom as she's the bad woman. You see what I mean? So, because I'm going to protect my mom and I'm going to defend my mom regardless. So there was concerns in that, but the way that she displayed it and how beautiful it was, like, parents need to see this. Like they truly do, and people need to see this. And but at the same time, is that I don't want when you see the word Jeannette, I want you to take your name and I want you to put your name on there. Because I need you to visualize yourself in this film. Just because I was a part of a massacre doesn't make my trauma way worse than yours. If you've never been a part of a trauma, a massacre, you will never understand that. Just like my friend who lost her mother, I have my mom to this day. I don't know what it's like not to have my mom, and I don't even want to think about it. So no trauma is worse than the other. It's a matter of what is the healing process for us. And I just hope that everyone can put their own names on this film and can see themselves through that film.
Thank you. I could say that I agree. Maris, you did a really incredible job capturing all of that so appropriately. I feel as like someone, just watching it for the first time, not knowing the relationship that you both worked so hard to create rapport and safety for the film. I was seeing this is clearly highlighting the process of grief, trauma, and healing and moving forward together as communities beyond Jeannette. Exactly. I'm hearing that. And it's definitely, I could say, will be received as that, because it absolutely is showing the incredible persistence to keep going and choose softness, joy, right? To choose connections and building each other up, right? And moving forward, acknowledging all the ways, just what you just said, Jeannette, all the ways that people experience trauma and violence because of systems of oppression, like acknowledging all that. It's true. If someone has experienced a big trauma, they're most definitely not alone. And that, I thought this film was so beautiful in naming that in such a soft way. Like, I'm always using big words like systems of oppression, but you didn't need to name all the intricacies of how people experience violence in the film. You did such a beautiful way in softly just keeping the focus on healing the body, healing the community, and the release of that, well, all the feelings that come with it, and then moving towards safety for ourselves, our bodies, our communities, closure with relationships with our parents, making sure our kids and our community's kids are being fiercely protected as we're showing them softness. I'm here for it. So like, congratulations to you both, honestly.
I think you both brought something up that I think was one of the most beautiful parts of the film for me, which is kind of a discovery of what the heart of the film was, which I think I discovered through Jeannette and her life, which was really that at the core of this film, it's a film about motherhood. It's a film about Jeannette, who is just like such a fierce and loving, unusual kind of icon of a mom. It's a film about Jeannette kind of letting go to be able to be cared for by her mother in a way that she didn't know she could. It's a film that asks the question. I mean, one of the big questions that I went into the film was, after experiencing something this horrific, how can Jeannette ever feel safe again? How can Jeannette help make Anthony feel safe going forward? And it's really interesting because the answer through her life was through kind of being a mother and daughter, right? Was through like fiercely protecting Anthony and allowing her mother to mother her. Mm. And I found a lot of love and a lot of beauty in kind of that process. And, life imitating art. I also became a mother during the process of making this film. And so I think that it's something that's like really like a huge connecting thread that if, when I set out and I was thinking and writing about this film, that's not what I would have kind of written to be the core. And it's so much better that it is.
Amazing. And just highlighting the beautiful intergenerational healing through that. Because I have a feeling that Jeannette, your mom probably had a big healing process with this too. And I bet your son will continue to have a big healing process with this whole journey. And thank you both for like sharing how beautiful that can be with such intention and community and everyone on board with the goal of safety and love and joy as the focal point. Jeannette or Maris, is there anything you want to end with? Because this is amazing. And I'm seeing we have a few minutes left, but I don't want to end until you both feel like you've said what you really wanted to say.
Well, for me, I guess I'm more taken back that, like I said, this film is helping, and that's really the onset of all of this. And even when me and Maris finished filming, I just said, I just hope that one way or another, this inspires, people. I hope that one way or another is that people understand the importance of life will always, just like in the film, it's gonna throw things, your way. Life is like a roller coaster. That's why I say you got to scream the whole way through. New traumas will come up, but it's a matter of healing and learning how to get better. And most importantly is paying it forward, helping others in your journey. And if we can do that collectively, as a whole, as a people, I think that people's traumas will be more easy to speak about. There's so much beauty in the vulnerability of the film. And I think that people need to kind of be human again and realize that vulnerability is absolutely beautiful. We look at that term like as if, no, you got to hold everything in all the time. But, when you try to be strong at all times, it actually is a sense of weakness. And I hope that when people see this film they're able to look within themselves and allow that vulnerability to come out, so that is such an important part to the healing process. There's a time to be strong and there's a time to be vulnerable. And hopefully people will watch this film and realize that they need to distinguish when their strength and vulnerability can come into play into their lives.
And you mentioned the collective, and I would just have to conclude, like with everything that we've said, like creating the safety in the collective for people to be safely held in their vulnerability. For so many people who knew they wouldn't probably be received, or maybe felt like they wouldn't be safe being vulnerable. But with these amazing conversations and the working communities for eons to move towards healing and creating space for each other and holding each other in that vulnerability or whatever else comes up, beautiful. That like I love that we're collectively moving towards that. So I think you were quite successful in doing that with this film. Both of you, like amazing job. So thank you. I'm so excited for you both, and what a pleasure to talk to you both, honestly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Jeannette.